It's warm outside, you know.
Come on.
Let's get ready to rumble. Welcome to Jaw Jackers with Bob and TC on IntellectualRadio.com. Again, that's IntellectualRadio.com. I'm your host, B.O.B. Bob, but I will go by the name of Robert Lee Orr Jr. And as always, from the South Side of Chicago, Illinois,
Yes,
let's give it up for Martise T.C. Wash Sr.
What up, Bob? What up, Bob? What up, Bob?
What's going on, man?
Oh, man.
Girl told me I can't say this little slogan because another host said it, so I'm not going to say it. But I ain't going to even waste no time.
You I said, though, the champ is right here. Go ahead,
It ain't the challenge, just the champ.
It's not the challenge, it's the champ.
Better check in.
From side streets.
Side streets and intersections on IntellectualRadio.com.
From side streets and intersections.
Oh, and the West Side.
The West Side. Miss Angela Champ.
You better ask somebody. Thank you guys for having me.
What's going on, Miss Champ? How you doing?
You know what? There's a lot going on, and I just want to say that first of all, thank you for having me here.
Okay.
I think that it's amazing to be on a show where we are all trying to do our part with respect to our people.
Absolutely.
You see,
you know, we met out at that expo though. Well, when we did that expo out there,
we did out in Matson.
Out in Matson.
Yes.
We did the expo. We was me, you, and it was
Darcy.
Miss Darcy.
Yeah.
Yeah, we was kind of doing our thing, you know.
Absolutely.
I actually had my hair cut that day. I don't know about today though. It's kind of.
Oh, you looking fly? You looking fly?
That's what's up. You know, I
didn't make the meeting. I had to interrupt this because I didn't get the call. You know?
Oh well, to the calls. How you doing?
I'm all right now. Then Bob taught that out big time. Don't you ever do nothing like that.
It did feel like a threat though. It did feel like a threat. I'm glad you came on. Unfortunately, right now, we in an awkward moment in the United States of America. So, you know, you kind of don't always want to zoom in on these conversations. Everybody, I think every show wants to have their own originality about them and do their own little thing, you know. But what's going on in America right now is we don't have the liberty to not talk about it, not talk about racial issues directly, because every time we don't talk about it, we're left with another situation that may occur. And it doesn't seem like it has hit home close enough to enough of us in the right way for some reason, you know, for us to make some kind of substantial change about what's going on in our society. And I want to bring up the idea of the white responsibility and the black responsibility in this conversation.
Okay, so there's a lot that you said, so let me chime in. Y'all ready?
Oh yeah, bring it with us.
Okay, first of all, there's no such thing as black, so let's correct that.
Okay.
Black is a color. We are not black.
Okay.
We are really, to be quite frank, we are other because we're some of everything.
Okay.
But it's easy to put it on the palette and call us a color so that it's acceptable to races other than ourselves. That's my take on that.
Mm-hmm.
As far as what's going on in America, first of all, we were never really supposed to be included in America's schematic.
Okay.
So we are still, in a lot of ways, displaced in a foreign land, trying to be cultivated, if you will, to their ways.
So is there not enough generational cycles that have passed that we could actually identify ourselves as citizens of the United States of America?
Okay, so I got my take on that too. You ready about that?
Bring it.
All right. So if you really study the Constitution and you really understand, to be a citizen means that you are willing to abide by their rules and regulations that they've set out. Okay. To be treated as a natural person, now we're talking about sovereignty. Okay. When you say you are a citizen and you sign all these documents, what you are attesting is that whatever they subject you to, you agree to. Therefore, we have to be more careful and more vigilant about signing our names on documents. Because anytime you sign your name on a document, you agree to whatever they subject you to.
Mm-hmm. You want to jump in, TC?
I mean, she's spitting right now. So
Okay.
what she's saying makes sense.
Well, what must happen in order for us to get the white people in this country that carry this supremacy attitude? What must happen to help them understand that these racial issues or these racial supremacist behavior is not just a black issue, it's an American issue? How do we take what you're saying as knowledge, true, but at the end of the day, I'm a citizen with rights. Get that message on a broader scale that will prevent these tragedies from occurring.
Well, first and foremost, they're not going to stop happening, although it's sad but true. They're not going to stop happening because you have to understand that legacy is passed down. Ideologies are passed down. Attitudes are passed down. And so there's a term that we often hear, particularly in business, is that, oh, you're not being politically correct. But I kind of ponder on that. And I say to myself, to be politically correct means, and this is just my perspective, that I am willing to turn a blind eye to the injustices of people. Because if I speak the truth, you say I'm radical. If I ignore it, then what am I? Then what am I? So I think that, of course, we can talk about education. And the only way you're going to understand their systems, you have to be educated by their systems.
And the system is the dollar, though, right?
When
you say the system is the dollar,
we're talking about everything from the dollar. We're talking about everything from their culture. We're talking about everything from their institutions of higher learning. We have to be educated, and not just from a realm of, stating facts, but we have to understand their strategy, because we don't really get their strategy. Okay. Interesting enough that how is it that you put all these rules and believe me, I'm for rules. Okay, I can be pretty anal at times. But why do you put these rules in place only when it's befitting you? For example, it's okay to be violent on the sports field. It's okay to be violent when we watch WWF SmackDown. It's okay to be violent in a old movie where they came and killed everybody. That was acceptable. And we all laughed. Oh, that was a good cowboy movie. But what was it saying? It was still saying that it's okay to be barbaric as long as we are instituting the rules and we are determining who gets to be violent. It kind of reminds me of the movie Purge.
Yeah.
You see?
Yeah.
Except they keep getting these 24-hour passes to kill our people. So at some point, I'm not an advocate. So don't quote me. Don't go outside and say Angela, the champ, said anything. I'm not an advocate for violence per se. But what I am an advocate for is us advocating and fighting for our rights.
If we could purge, would you purge? Would you purge, DC?
I had out.
You had out.
I'm a refrain.
I think I'll purge.
On the ground that
I wouldn't.
I think I'll purge. I ain't gonna even lie. I'll purge. I ain't gonna even lie to you.
I'm just gonna keep it real. I want to get back to your point. You're saying, like, what can we do for them to understand what we're going through? And I'll give what Angela said, as far as it's not gonna stop them. They won't understand because, like she said, they've been passed down to us from Martin Luther King being assassinated, and everybody that we looked up to or tried to put the right, get us in the right position as a race out here, they take them out. So, but none of they great leaders or great people have been taken down in such ways, so they don't understand the pain we go through when we keep seeing all these tragedies happen to us. So to me, in my opinion, the only way they'll understand if it start affecting them. One of they white mothers coming home from work get pulled over and end up dying in a police station. then let's, if it's not happening to them, unfortunately, a lot of people can't relate. I don't know, it didn't happen to me type of ideology. But in my mind, if it hit home one of them in that race per se, like if I'm not advocating this, but in order for the white race or the people that's sitting there saying, well, blacks kill blacks and turning around, like it's always a reason to pass of the black lives being taken away. If it and turned around and that little son coming home from somewhere and 22 years old get pulled over and be murdered by black cops.
But let me also say this too. Those in position of leadership, such as ourselves and even those politicians, those folks we vote for, you can't get on television, try to separate it and then make it inclusive. Okay? So let's break it down. It's like every other race with the exception of African Americans or black folks, because that's what they like to call us, black. They're quick to tell us that it's an American issue. It's not a Black Lives Matter issue. Because remember, you wanted to be included in America's dream. But every other race can have their own agenda. And every other race has either gotten some form of reparation except us. So why is it that every time that we come up to the plate and we want to talk about the things that affect us, that have an adverse impact on us, we're being too radical? It's just a bunch of rhetoric. We stopped slavery. No, slavery is very prevalent. And if you think, for one instance, that we have overcome.
But slavery is not, it's not the same. It's not the same.
It's worse.
There are different liberties that we have as citizens of America right now that are not the same as slavery. I mean, we have a countless number of examples of what you would call liberty or freedom. We're talking about economic structure that promotes racism as opposed to the word slavery. To me, those are two totally different concepts. Slavery means you have no ability, no freedom, no liberty to make money or whatever. When you're talking about the economical system that discriminates, I can go with that.
It all discriminates. Let me tell you why. Because you can make money here in the Americas.
Right.
You can make money, but they still have a cap on what you're gonna make. And when a prime example, and I have to use it as an example, when Oprah Winfrey went over to where she went with all this money, she a billionaire. They reminded her that what? We don't care how much you got, you still one of them. You're only as good for what you are providing, a service. If you cannot provide a service, take, for example, sidebar just a little bit. And a lot of institutions now, they've gotten away from the personalized perspective, meaning that you are just an identification number now. It used to be, good morning, Mr. Ora. Good morning, Mr. TC. Good morning, Miss Angela. Now it's, if you call for an issue regarding your money that has been short, your time, what's your JDE number or what's your ID number? Because they've depersonalized you and they're telling you that you're not as important as you think you are. And so we have to understand that, once again, I'm not ever advocating to hurt anyone. That's not my stance. But what I am saying is we do, in order to cause change, we have to make people uncomfortable.
I agree.
People only become different in their way of thinking is when they have been put in a position that they have to be made to think differently.
I guess the point I'm making is when we look at the word liberty, when I use the word liberty, I mean that we got a right to buy property. Well, we got to take advantage of the facts that we can put our dollar where they need to go. One of the things Earl said last week before we left, what I thought was interesting, he said, if we don't find a way to affect their money, then it's not going to be any impact.
But listen to this, though. They let you buy property, right?
Right.
But you don't own the land.
Well, I'm talking about.
So you still don't own the property.
Right.
In the totality of the essence of what it means to be free, you are still an indentured servant at the end of the day. don't pay those taxes and see what they're gonna come and do.
Right.
So there's no.
Well, meaning
we have
Well, okay, I don't. What I'm trying to say though is that if we keep on, we're not looking at the fact that there are advantages to how we can operate. Is what only point I'm making. I'm not debating against the systematic forms of control. I'm not. But I think we need to graduate away from the fact that the systematic forms of control are in place and to the what you call on-purpose decisions we can make with our money, the on-purpose shutdowns when we can shut something down, the on-purpose things that we invest in and we promote and we lift up. I'm saying that's the way we spend our dollar is on purpose. It's not so when you got whatever your net worth is, that's your net worth, that's your money. So what I'm saying is, if we, in order for us to ever really have any type of impact or change, then we got to get fired up and serious about something as far as what we're financially willing to invest in and turn into a monopoly.
Okay,
day after day, year after year, month after month, based off of your comfort zone or how you feel like your social disposition, you feel like being for this day, you feel like chilling for this day. Now we cannot blow past that and then just go all the way to we still slaves, and we spend millions of dollars promoting Nike shoes, millions of dollars, this type of car, this home, this beyond your price range, just barely making it. Those are real live dollars. Billions of dollars not learning what an IRA is. Billions of dollars not learning what a CD is. So, I'm not trying to jump on black people as ignorant. But what I am saying, though, is until we say on purpose for real that it's our responsibilities to have a sense of loyalty on what we invest in, that part of the conversation, we cannot keep making it in that way.
Okay.
Go ahead, TC.
I mean, this is Jaw Jack with Bob TC, and you my man, 100 grand. But I totally like side with Angie, what she's saying, and what I mean by it when she come to forms of slavery. And what I like to this day, what I mean is, don't get me wrong, economically, they will pay you, you will get money, and you will have a way to try to survive in this system. But way these things are set up, and if what you saying, you making a good point, but we have to recognize what we up against with our dollars. We need what I mean by the slavery point. Let's be real, we're slavery to our time clock.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? They have us in a way that, we making money for the companies. We making Fortune 500 companies money off our labor. So they then pass a few crumbs to us. But if you look at the way things are set up when it comes to slavery, it's like, what you're saying, the racism point is true. Don't get me wrong, Bob. I understand what you mean by that. But that slavery thing is not gone. It's not gone at all in the way they access us. For example, you look at the athletes, just say football, the combine. Watch how they measure the athletes up and see how much they worth. And it's just like it's like they was able to keep the tradition going with slavery, but gave up like, here's a little, you'll get a little money, you'll get a little of this, but you still gonna do this for me. And it's like, until we understand what they doing to us, don't get me wrong, you can march and shut down expressways, and you can do all that if you want to. I would never do it. I'm just being real. I would never walk out there and march or protest unless they march and protesting what is right. Okay, if we're gonna really go at somebody, we need to be lining up at the mayor home, to whoever designed and the police chief home, to find out. They have an agenda. They have a meeting before they have meetings. They just don't come get in their police car and ride outside. It's agendas they put out there. I'm not knocking the blue and whites, because let's be real, they the foot soldiers. They the lowers of the totem pole next to a patrolman on a bike. All they doing is what they're told to do, or what they know their regulation and rules. They try to play the rules. They can get away with this and get away with that, but it's still an agenda out there. And until the people such as the commanders, the people who really in charge, be attacked or be put on Front Street because what's really going on in our neighborhood, then maybe, something will change. One thing to change is whoever the one is going at them going all of a sudden get parking tickets and pulled over for no reason because you're attacking what you're supposed to attack. Go ahead.
And let me just add on to that. Got one better for you.
Turn that volume off.
You get these jobs, and like the young woman who has become a viral sensation, the officer who talked about, her taking why she put the uniform on and why she feel that if she's standing next to someone who's not going to do the job in the manner that they took the oath and then take the uniform off. But you have to understand these systems are so deep because you take an oath thinking that you're going to really cause change. But a lot of times you ain't causing no change. You covering up the change. And when I say change, you're covering up the mighty dollar. So then you go in there thinking that I'm really about changing the world because I took this oath. And when you start to implement change, now you are ostracized. You are not one of them. And they're going to remind you by making your life a living hell because you're not protecting blue.
Hey, Earl told me right before we got here that you were in law enforcement. You are in law enforcement. I don't know if you're at liberty to speak.
I'm not going to speak on I will never say the name per se.
Okay.
But I will say this, that some 18 years ago, and I've now come out with a realistic perspective.
Right. I just wanted to bring credibility to that part of the point you were making when you was making a point in.
Right. So
because there was some information slid to me right before the show to let me know that your information on there was credible.
And so, let's get into that.
Sure.
When I took and put on that uniform, it wasn't about me being an overseer. Okay. It was about forgiving those that had some place in my life had mistreated me. And now, in some ways, they've become my footstool. Now what you gonna do? It wasn't about mistreating them, because how am I to make another person better? How am I to be an example if I'm perpetuating the cycle of abuse? And so when you start to see people from the humanistic and holistic perspective, and you won't play and buy into the games and mistreat people, you are a threat. Therefore, you have got to go. And it's so deep and it's so entrenched till we know in all of these systems, it's three things that they'll do to you. And it still has not changed. They will label you crazy. That's the good one. Oh, you're crazy. Or you'll get locked up. And we know, an all too common occurrence, they'll kill you for not protecting those secrets.
Let me. One of the things that I found myself in a funny position. I found myself in a real funny position when the situation in Dallas happened, when this guy, the sniper, killed 5 police officers and wounded 11 other ones. That's the first time I've ever seen a tragic situation like that. And I didn't really feel any remorse. Here I am, an advocate for diversity. I pitch or I drink a cup of Kool-Aid that is pitching toward racial reconciliation. But I can honestly say, looking at that situation, there was a certain part of me that almost made me choose sides, which is something that I don't really advocate. I'm already black and I know I'm black, but I didn't ever want to just choose sides to the point where I'm like, yeah, get them. But when you lack remorse, if you lack remorse for a tragedy like that, if you have a household of thoughts that carry that lack of remorse, then you beginning to aggressively choose sides. And I didn't know how to feel about that.
Let me tell you something I felt about it. This is my feelings only. I look at it kind of different. When it happened, you get the outcries like some of the cops were good cops, and I and I'm not knocking the police, but I'm just being for real with it. I took it for real. Like if a sniper shot at 16 Klan members and hit 11 and killed 5, that's how I look at the whole situation with these police. That's just how I look at it.
Well, what we're gonna do is we're gonna go on a quick break.
Okay.
You're listening to Jaw Jacking with Bob and TC on Intellectual Radio with our special guest, Miss Angela Champ from the West Side.
The champ is here.
From the West Side. But we'll see you on the other side of the break. The call-in number is 238-8953. Jaw Jacking.
Since I met you, there's nothing more I'd rather do than to invite you over to my place. Love is clear, it's in the air. I wanna share what's rare with you over at my place. All night I couldn't sleep away, knowing tomorrow would bring opportunity to be right next to you. I long for this day now, here it is. You'll soon feel the rhythm of my heart beating for your touch. Because since I met you, there's nothing more I'd rather do than to invite you over to my place. Yes. Love is clear, it's in the air. I wanna share what's rare with you over at my place. Yes. Don't say a thing, let me express myself. You never had a love like the one I'm giving you. I can compare. Stop by it, you can't deny it. Lovely loneliness behind. Because since I met you, there's nothing more I'd rather do than to invite you over to my place. Yes. Love is clear, it's in the air. I wanna share what's rare with you over at my place. Yes. Since I met you, there's nothing more I'd rather do than to invite you over to my place.
Welcome back to Jaw Jackers with Bob and TC on IntellectualRadio.com. The call-in number is 773-223-8953. Again, the call-in number is 773-223-8953.
There we go.
We got stuck for a minute. So
That's okay.
We got good topics
turned
going
50
on.
years old in one month. Anyway, but we're here with Angela Champ from Side Streets and Intersections from the West Side. You know, hey, you know what's funny, TC? When I was doing some research on, I forgot to tell you this. When I was doing some research on her, I scrolled down a Facebook page and caught her at a house party, man, and she was getting down. I'm talking about you work it. You work it. You got low, touch the ground. Like, look at this ass.
Whatever, you know.
I'm sitting up here looking at all these degrees. I'm reading through all these degrees. Like, oh man. I was like, I don't even know if I want to have her on the show, man. She gonna make us sound real dumb. I'm looking at all these accolades, all these degrees. And then I caught that video with her dancing. I was like, oh, she can come on here. Work it.
See, the thing is, and that, I think that's a huge component of it. People think that once you get to a certain level in terms of academia, that you have lost your humanistic side, that you don't dance, you don't do the things. It's just on a different level. But what I'm learning as I'm working towards my PhD, that the circle gets smaller, and it becomes even more ruthless, because the question now becomes, how did you ever even desire to have aspirations to reach this level? Because you should have been okay just working at the local store, you see? And so there are a myriad of facets how this systemic discrimination has destructed. But in order to get some real resolution, like I posted on Facebook the other day, because what I say I stand behind. I believe in prayer. I'm a church-going woman.
Amen. Amen.
But we also got to read the stories of those that fought for what they believe in.
Oh.
Now, I'm not advocating that you go out there and hurt anybody. But what I am saying, if you don't stand for something, we're going to keep falling.
What's funny is that those are the two of the main ways that I identify that will get the attention of anybody who is on a superior side. If you affect their money or you affect lives that matter to them, like you were saying earlier, like they don't have no evidence, and that's going into your point, that's making you feel like that lack of remorse, because it's almost like summoning you to be be black, to be true black, like the martyr form of black. If this wrong situation happened, because God forbid, I got a 23-year-old son that is actually a police officer in the Air Force, and then I have an 18-year-old son that I feel like are very well law-abiding citizens. But I promise you, if they go to the store with a broken tail light and they dead, and you trying to explain to me this character son that I raised up all them years, my kumbayas might sound a little different. I'm just saying that it almost make you think that way, because these situations that we're seeing irrational overreaction that is almost, they're cocked as soon as they walk up on the situation. We can debate all day about, well, Sandra Bland shouldn't have did this, or she said, we can debate all day about that. But what I'm seeing is an instinctive overreaction right off the top that the white citizens in this country are not seeming to recognize in a way to stand up against it, in a way that is making you start to bottle all of them in one category, even when it's not all of them. It's not all of them that's not racist, but you want to bottle them all up, kind of like to the point you were saying during the break.
Well,
just to bring you back to that point.
It's like, I just keep it real. I don't believe in all that sugarcoating. Let's keep it for what it is. Like I said earlier, I don't believe in those. It's not such thing to me as a good slave master. There's no such thing as a good clan member. If you associated, we all look how they do our race. If you're a black man, you automatically treated a certain way because the stereotype was put down, was laid down, and for some, wherever you look at it, it's accepted.
But what's even more disheartening is that when you are an advocate for change, because we keep hearing this word change, right? When you are an advocate for change and you sit down with people to try to propose change, they will set you up. They will set you up because why? You messing with my money. You messing with what is and what has always, and the way it is it continues to go on. And how dare you speak out? That's why I tell people, I'm dedicating my dissertation. Okay. My study will be on the adverse impact of labeling African Americans mentally ill. Let me also put a footnote in there. When they don't succumb to systems. So you want to label me something when I don't accept your ideology? Really? So if I had, for example, we know knowledge is power. And we know that when you open one book, it'll take you to another book. And so, interesting enough, let's talk about religion, because you got to put religion in this.
Okay.
Now, we know religion in and of itself is just a ritualistic thing that we do every day that has nothing to do with the relationship with a higher being. But that is used to keep people in control. So my question that I would often ask, and of course would be either told to be quiet or we're not on that subject yet. We haven't got to that book yet. But what I want to know is, okay, so you're telling me that, I'm just playing advocate. You're telling me that one day that this great and glory thing is going to happen to me and I'm going to go there. But have you heard from anybody that been there yet? That's all I'm asking.
Let me. When you bring up religion, I bring up religion. I want to jump in there. I want to jump in there from a different.
I already know. Come on.
What do you mean? You already know what?
Speak. I want to listen first.
Okay, well, just listen then.
I am. I am.
But when we talk about religion, let's say it's two examples I want to use with religion. First of all, I want to use Moses in the Bible. So, well, of course, in the Bible, Moses was raised up by the Pharaoh of Egypt, I believe it was, right?
Mm-hmm.
In their ways. See, he couldn't really affect them unless he understood their ways.
I said that earlier.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So it almost took God used him to understand those ways, to position him to understand those ways in order for him to impact those ways. Same way with Martin Luther King. That's the second example I want to use on religion. Martin Luther King took their constitution, the constitution that was set up and built by whites, and he took the Bible. He took their ways and their language. He made them find what you will call remorse through their language. So my point, or my question is, when we're talking the way we're talking, doesn't change really occur if we're positioned to change? Positioned mean we have to understand and comply to certain things to understand them first.
Well,
what I'm seeing is in these videos and these footages, I see someone who does not understand that language. I see a lack of compliance to that understanding that language that way, and I see that lack of understanding or that lack of compliance. I see it getting taken advantage of, but I don't see the instinctive knowledge, the well of knowledge from it. So what I'm just saying is I'm trying to tie that into what you said with religion, with Moses, and how important is it to understand those ways, to understand that language in order for us to be positioned in order to combat it?
Well, I think what I said earlier, I hit on the point. I said in order to combat the injustices that are taking place is that you do have to be trained by them. You do have to go to their institutions. You do have to mingle and understand their ways. However,
well, I dispute.
However,
let me just say this, Angela, because the only reason why I said it, because you were saying, because sometimes you would tell them they will have to act a certain way because they don't subscribe to the way you want to do it. That's what made me make the comment. So you can understand. I just want to come out of left field.
Oh, no.
Okay.
So
I'm sorry.
Understand what I'm saying to you is that if you do not adapt, because this is that big word, adapt, to their way of thinking, then you're labeled when you come out the womb. Okay, you're labeled as inferior, and so when you try to understand, they continuously try to find ways to ostracize you. You know, we always talk about Martin Luther King, but you know, we got some other ones out there.
Thank you. I've been waiting.
I don't understand why they don't have holidays.
Thank you.
That's a good point.
Thank you, because I know I'm in a minority here. This is only my opinions.
I think we're on the same page.
This is not an intellectual radio, Earl. None of this. This is my opinion. I mean, I always looked up for his strength, Martin Luther King's strength, and his methods I just didn't agree with, because by letting someone, like, if they hit you, just turn the cheek and hit the other cheek, in that frame of mind, it puts us in a situation where it's a no-win situation. If we constantly just sit back and just keep asking and praying that you stop, while they keep just, like, he been arrested and water hosed and beat, and by putting him as the model person, they telling us to just let us do what we're gonna do to y'all. Y'all just sit back and just keep, and then just accept it, and I guess it'll get better because you just want them to look at us equal. Whereas I agree with the Malcolm X version, by any means necessary. You touch one of mine, I'm touching one of yours. That's just me. That's why I'm not going to protest. I'm not going to walk. I'm not going to do certain things because I don't even like the objective. I mean, you're supposed to come together for your protest, not just to be on TV.
Well, I got one better for you. Before you protest, you have to let them know you're going to protest. You see?
Mm-hmm.
So once again, where's the liberty? If I have to go downtown and get a pass to protest, you know what I'm protesting.
That's not a complete. Well, it's excluding. It's excluding certain people. Like meaning, just like this the field, right? It's some people out there, right? Then there's some people that's in the backyard doing some work, right? Then there's some people in the house. All three of them people believe in the same thing, but they all speak differently. They speak differently. This person is, of course, going to speak a more effective language to the one that's oppressing him because he's closer to the language or he's learned the language. The point is the same. So I never, ever want to get into pointing out Martin Luther King and what he did and we didn't agree. All three of the points are the same. Don't look at the different. We don't want to get caught up in looking at everybody's different positions as not being in the same fight. We have to be positioned. My only point is we got to be positioned differently, and we got to respect the positioning of how we're positioned differently to understand what our roles may be in the whole civil fight.
But Bob, let's understand something. Let's keep it real again, Bob. Let's keep it real for a second. How did the race, the slaves, masters, the white race, whatever, how did they even how were they able to accomplish what they accomplished with us as a race?
As slaves.
But I mean, how? Being brutal.
Okay.
Being a certain way.
Right.
And if and do you think if they just would have talked to the slaves would have been listening? If they just talked to them? I'm just asking my point. Do I think if the slaves, it would have been right? Do you think if the slave owner just would have talked to the slaves and just told them to do their job and just told them do what we tell you, it'd have been the effect would have been the same?
No, I mean, right, I don't know. I don't know.
Well, I don't think so, because they're not going to listen. You got to show force. You have to do force to make.
I think that's a part of it. I don't think you just show force.
Think about
it. It's easier to deal with Martin Luther King if you got to deal with Malcolm X.
Listen, what I'm saying.
It's easier to negotiate with Martin Luther King because Malcolm X.
You're right, but I'm not dealing with the Malcolm X and Martin Luther King thing right now. What I'm trying to get to understand, in my opinion, why all the marching and all that stuff is good for sure. But what I'm saying is, whenever something occurred that made change, it took some lives to get lost.
Okay.
It took an aggressive hand. That's all I'm saying. I'm not advocating nothing for nobody. Do what you got to do. But what I'm saying is, based on our question earlier, we really want to see a change. If we really wanted them to understand the change, I mean, you want them to really listen to us, they have to be affected like we've been affected.
Because,
I'm going to give you go ahead.
Well, let me interject and say this. Yeah, everybody's in this fight together. That's what we want to believe and we would like to believe. But unfortunately, that is not the case. For example, say if we decided to protest and we did it every single day and it really impacted the economy. What happens next? Now they start turning off your water. See? Or we're going to cut services in your area in terms of you getting from point A to point B. Or we're going to raise the taxes. Or got one better for you. And pardon me, when in the hell have schools started closing? Closing schools, but you're building jails.
Right.
You build in jails. Then the system is designed that you say that I understand because have not been convicted, they're considered pretrial detainees when they're in an institution of pre-holding. But then there is this ideology that you tell them that they have all these rights. Now, what got them locked up is because they thought they were entitled to something. So now you just reinforced it to assure they'll be back. How strategic is that one?
I don't want to stay I think this conversation need to happen more with rights. I was thinking about that today. Whites.
I don't agree.
I think that because, it need to happen more with whites, because the more I do what you call common ground challenge, the more I understand, like the guest last week, Melanie. You know, there's a certain truism that comes from being privileged that doesn't really interact with our everyday struggles. Then and a true thing that's happening in America now, you have another minority that's becoming more of a majority than we are, that don't care about your black struggle. So to have a conversation amongst the blacks only, and the Hispanics that's growing don't care about your black struggle. They don't care about that. They trying to figure out the way to get their hands on. They trying to figure out how do they, what you call, prioritize the economic investments where to. They buying houses out in Chicago Heights with cash, not with cash money. So my point is, this conversation, in order for us to be positioned to get to understand more so how to prioritize certain things we need to comply to, we gotta intermingle with them. In my opinion.
So I have a solution. Instead of the all the forms that talk about all these different races, want to just have one race on there, American citizen. I agree with that. Let me tell you why everything is separate. It's separate because it instills that you are still not entitled to anything.
Right.
So, and then, like you said, the Latin folks, they're bound out in Chicago Heights and all that. They're told that they're better than us. Right. But if you got 1/6 of you 1/16, you still black. So how are you? And your skin is. Matter of fact, I go to some places, they think that I am Caucasian because of the color of my skin. Until I open my mouth, and then they understand that.
No, she black. No, she black.
But let me get a point real quick, so I ain't get to finish it. I do my reading about like the Black Panthers and things they was doing and how they got turned on them, how they were just this militant group. And the reason I said that, I'm not saying eventually once we come together so we get an agenda that we all can agree on, then yes, we must intermingle with the whites so they can understand where we're coming from. But we also gotta, it's just common sense. People only deal with things when it affects them. We can sit here and talk. Stopping the expressway don't affect nobody. Okay, it's a traffic jam for a minute. I might gotta get off the other exit, but it doesn't really affect you. In order for change to come, that means the people that's privileged need to know what it feel like for like the guy in New Orleans who was murdered at the convenience store. His son had to watch this video of his father being murdered. He got to watch this. They need to know what that feel like. Now, I'm not saying we supposed to go shoot them so their son can see it. But if we really want to try to break the barriers, you got to understand what we feeling. You can't understand what it's like to be broke until you can't eat.
Right.
It's easy to say, well, they could have went and got a job over here. No, they haven't felt that way. The system designed privilege.
And let me just say this, and I have to piggyback and agree with everything you're saying, because I came from the west side of Chicago. I was a high school dropout, went back, got my GED, got my license to do hair, got my CNA license, went and got my social degree, bachelor degree, master degree, working on my doctorate. But let me tell you the true story. I'm advocating because I want to do right. And because I was trying to do right, now you're trying to scheme against me. And you're right. When I became homeless, not because I had a drug problem, not because of some man, not because I wasn't paying my bills, but because I wouldn't go along with a system that was corrupt, it gives you a whole different ideology. And so me striving for the PhD is more about self, but it's also about having the capacity and the skill set to impact and effect change. And the only way you can do that is in order to combat their system, you got to be educated by it.
Yep.
Here's the thing, though. Hey, remember this situation, TC? Remember one time we was out at this sports bar and we got into it with these guys, you know, or for something, you know, that was said, right? Something you said, you know. We gonna throw it out there. We ain't gonna say what you said. We gonna say your mouth said it. But anyway, what happened in that situation? Did you ever think that I didn't understand where you was coming from?
No.
I knew for a minute I spoke a little different. I said, let me go out here and talk to them, right? For this situation. Well, because you were scared or whoever else was scared. It's because I understood in this situation our roles was different. That's the only point I'm making. And I'm just saying sometimes blacks, we get to talking and we get to saying that someone else's role is not as valuable as their role because they feel like they the ones that's willing to go rah, rah, rah right away. And I'm saying that is incomplete. That's what I'm saying. That's incomplete. I've got just as much radical in you on certain emphasis, and more so if you position yourself to put yourself directly in the language, directly in a fight in harm's way. And sometimes I think the blacks get lost in not being able to keep it all intertwined and connected.
But I'm not saying that I'm not saying we should radicalize. I'm not saying radicalize in the sense of just going out there and hurting people. I'm not saying that. Or even in the instance of what happened in Dallas, I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is that it's okay. We all on the same agenda, but we all have different roles. So if my role is the one that has the whatever, I'm the role that I'm in the uniform, you in the role of the street, but we all on the same agenda. We just got to bring it together.
Thank you, Miss Angela Champ.
Thank you. Yes. We need
for
more
coming
time.
on our show. Say your show
back
real quick and what day come on and when they can check you out.
So my name is Angela Champ, and my show is Side Streets and Intersections here on IntellectualRadio.com. And at about 1 more hour, I will be interviewing Mr. Michael Moore. If you don't know your rights, well, you need to tune in to Side Streets and Intersections here on IntellectualRadio.com.
Well, thank you for being a guest today, Joe Jackson with Bob and TC, and thanks to Earl Winfrey at IntellectualRadio.com.
Yeah.
See you next week.
Great show.
Deuces.
Feel the rhythm of a heart beating for your touch, because you